Good morning. I'd like to call the Highway and Building Committee meeting to order for Thursday, April 14th. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Dennell? Present. Mr. Hess? Present. Mr. Tholen? Ms. Weber? Mr. Featherling? Present. Mr. Long? Present. Mr. Hunter?
Present.
Ms. Bryan? Mr. Collins? Ms. Hudson?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Present.
Mr. Alexander Hildebrand? Mr. Gowler? Mr. Raymond?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler? Present. Mr. Seroy? We have a quorum.
Thank you. I don't see any public comments on my desk here. Is any public comment? Is there any public comment? See no public comments. So next on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes for March 10th. Can I have a motion and a second? Featherland. Hudson? Okay. Everybody in favor signify by say aye.
Aye.
Everybody opposed, the same sign. Motion passes. Next on the agenda will be Highway. Mr. Hayden.
All right. No biddings this month.
Sorry?
Number 3.
No,
his mic.
Oh, number 3, the microphone. I got you. Thank you.
All right. No biddings or lettings this month. I'm going to move on to the pay estimates. First up is for Kankakee County, 22 GM rock salt for the yard in the amount of $31,459.62. Next is for County GM 22 cold patch from Gallagher Asphalt in the amount of $1,081.38. Kankakee County 22 GM, these are delineator posts that we put on by the culverts from MD Solutions in the amount of $1,924.00. Next is our sign order for the year from Osborne Associates for Kankakee County GM. The amount of $14,696.35. Next, again, Kankakee County GM. This is the oil we use for our spray patcher from Tri-State Asphalt in the amount of $12,710.36. And last county pay estimate is for 22 GM. Toby's Construction for the aggregate base repair we're doing out on County Highway 6. And this pay estimate is in the amount of $137,131.29. And we have a couple pay estimates for the townships. This one's for Kankakee Township, rock salt, and the amount from Morton Salt, and the amount is $3,663.64. And the last one is Pembroke Township for equipment rental in the amount of $6,539.93. And that's the last one.
That's the last one. Okay. So we need a motion and a second. Mr. Long and Mr. Donnell, second. And will be a roll call, please.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Dennell?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling?
Aye.
Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Raymond?
Aye.
Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Andy has a question.
60.
This came up. Somebody asked me about this, so I thought I would mention it here. If the committee notices, those last two bills were for highway districts in the township highway districts. This is why a highway commissioner could not serve as a county board member, is because they'd be in a conflict of interest. I just want to mention that for the committee, and because it's come up because there is a gentleman running for county board that's a highway commissioner. He can never serve on this board. So I just want to mention that this is why, this in and of itself. It just came up to me from a constituent. I thought I'd mention it in committee.
Okay. Thank you so much. Next will be just a proposal to purchase the new engineer service truck, right? But that's just like, it's already in the agenda, on your budget, it's just like an okay, just to bring.
Correct. I'm just letting everyone here be aware of it. We have 3 technicians now. They each have a vehicle. One is an older 3/4 ton. The other 2 have 1-ton trucks. The 3/4 is kind of, based on the equipment they put on it, it's kind of burning through gas, and it's hard to carry that weight around. So we'd like to replace that with another 1-ton truck to match the other 2. We'll put the old one in for short term. It'll be our spare, so when they get service on one of them, they got something to rotate in and out. The ultimate long-term plan is we get another technician. That would be his truck till we find a better upgrade for him. But that was, I just wanted to let you know what was coming, and we do have money in the budget for it too.
Anybody have any questions, Mr. Hayden? Or comments about that?
I had a few other comments too, since I'm here in case anyone's asking or wants to know. Our salt contract hasn't come up for next year yet, so we still have some we can purchase this year. We're going to try to put as much as we can in the salt dome, just because I don't expect the price to get any cheaper on next year's contract. We're able to acquire paint through the state. That's the good news. The bad news is the price went up 23%. Glass beads, no problem. We're able to get them this month, but we should have paint and beads ready to go once the striper's ready to go. So just an update for everybody.
The new truck, which fund does that come out of?
The County Highway Fund.
County Highway, so we need a motion to approve that.
Would that go through the board, or we do that here? Or?
We always have approved those purchases in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it was out of MFT and other things, it was more courtesy than anything else. But with county funds, yeah, we approved them through here. Now, well, it's a good question. Do we need to? I think we do. I think those are county funds expenditures, and the other ones we don't because they're MFT. But Bones, do you have any experience in that area? Right. It's my opinion. We'll get clarification from the state's attorney. So I just want to make sure of that, because let's vote on it just in case, and we'll have a better answer next month.
Okay. Mrs. Fetterlin, okay. And Mr. Long, second. So we gotta do a roll call on this.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Dennell? Aye. Mr. Hess? Aye. Mr. Featherling? Aye. Mr. Long? Aye. Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson? Mr. Smith? Aye. Mr. Raymond? Aye. Mr. Wheeler?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything
And
else?
that's all I have.
Okay.
Is there any kind of updates or anything on the interchange and I-57?
I thought it.
I got called.
Not going to the west.
Is he speaking in the microphone? I can't
Sure
hear
am.
any of this.
Okay, go ahead.
Gotcha, okay. Is there any new information on the interchange in Manteno on County Highway 9 and I-57 and the work going from 57 over to 45?
We are starting work Monday in Manteno on 9. They're going to close. We got railroad flaggers, so they're going to close off at the crossing, and it's supposed to take 3 days. Mill off, patch, resurface, and then we're out of there, and then the road will be opened up again. And then the other question was,
The interchange at I-57?
I haven't heard anything about that. I'm meeting with I think it's the designer next week to see what kind of update I can get out of him.
Okay. And then how about the work going west from there?
Same question.
Same question.
He's just, I think that's actually the project he's designing, but I'll ask about everything at once.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a question. This is Hunter.
Yes.
How many summer employees are we going to be hiring this summer, and the rate?
The rate advertised is $12 an hour. I'd like to hire at least 4. I understand we're having there's a job fair on the 20th that will hopefully find some more candidates there.
Okay, and you said you're gonna pay them how much again now?
The advertised rate is $12 an hour.
Okay. I thought we had some difficulties last year in terms of the compensation rate. And do you have some latitude to increase that, bump it up a little bit or not?
I think I do. I asked about that yesterday, and if we don't get response at $12, then maybe we'll get a little bit more at a little higher rate.
Yeah, because that was a problem last year, I know for sure. And I had identified someone, and they had an alternative a quote from another employer, and the person who we wanted was well qualified, but the compensation was not palatable to him. And just keep us posted. Thank you.
Yep.
Chairman Wheeler?
Thank you. To answer Mr. Featherling's question, the MPO is doing the project from I-57 on 9 all the way over to 45. That's programmed for next year. The Hobbies first, then that one. Hobbies, they're going to start working on that, redoing that, and then 9 happens. And that's going to be 2 lanes in each direction with the, what do they call it, suicide lane down the middle. That's probably the not right term, but you know what I mean. It's there'll be a turn lane down the middle to keep people from, obviously doing the wrong thing. So that's programmed for down the road. You're talking about some patching. This is the full-on redo of that road.
Yeah, that's the only thing going on in Manteno for us right now.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Okay. Anybody else?
As I want to thank Mr. Hayden for getting me all of the information on silt and sand collection systems, quotes, the excavators, the barges, all of the different things that we're looking at to utilize for our river projects in the future. So that's in process. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you very much. We're putting together all that paperwork to kind of provide the backup to draw down the $7 million that were appropriated from the state for river infrastructure. So more to come on that. We'll run it through this committee because of the obvious connection to what is going on at the highway department and the expertise to operate that equipment. But today, or what you did last week, was greatly helpful. I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Hayden, is anything else you have for us this morning?
That's all I have today.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day. Next on the agenda will be the buildings. Mr. Andrews. Good morning.
Good morning. All right, first item on the agenda is the facility duty report for the month of March. We had 202 work orders. That's a very busy month. Moving on to the financial report that you have. Really not much to discuss. You can see we're still considerably behind to the tune of about $65,000 where we at this point last year. Really no discrepancies on the each line item when compared to last year either. Everything is pretty much below where we were at this point last year, with the exception of miscellaneous supplies, which is pretty close. So if there's any questions on the financial report, it looks pretty good. I don't know how long it'll stay that way, but I'll certainly do my best.
I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Have you had any notice and saving of time with not having to be changing light bulbs and everything where we did all the LED conversions?
Certainly.
Is that helping out some?
And we still have had to replace a couple of them, whether they were faulty or what have you. We've had to replace a few of them, but not many.
Nothing like it was before?
No.
No, okay, thank you.
Good point. I'd kind of forgot about that.
I just was wondering how it was going with those.
Anybody else? Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the building report here at 189. I still stay in contact with Kone. Any day now, the encoder is due in for the elevator. So as soon as that gets in, they'll be out to put the encoder in. Once we get both elevators up and running. We have water piping that needs to be removed from the elevator shaft, which we've discussed, but we need both elevators up and running to do that. So once we get them both up and running, get the east elevator inspected, then we can shut down whichever elevator we need to shut down in order to remove the piping from the elevator shaft. So I continue to stay on top of that. I've been in communication with Kone twice this week already. So the granite work, we're going to be doing some repair to the granite work here, or granite here at the building, the facade. There's an area on this side of the building over here that's cracked, as well as the south side of the building that's cracked. I've been working, it's actually something that's been around pretty much since I started here, but there's always been an issue with finding the correct granite, finding something that'll look good with the building, and I think we've got a plan. So I've kind of pushed it to the back burner, but that's something that with spring coming and getting outside and cleaning windows, I want to make sure we get the building looking as good as possible. So that's something that I'll be working on to get that done here, hopefully within the next couple weeks. Tuck pointing is needed on the building. I discussed it briefly with Chairman Wheeler. We've got water coming in the maintenance shop on the north side of the building. There's even water dripping into Dan's garage. Not as bad as in the maintenance shop, but the roof is sound. We've had the roof inspected. There's no issues with the roof. And Anita can vouch there's water that leaks in on the north side of the building as well, at the 5th floor at the emergency exit. So we had a contractor come out. He's going to provide multiple quotes for the different elevations of the building, so we can talk about what we want to do, if anything. Certainly I'd recommend, with the amount of water that we're getting in the maintenance shop, I mean, it's dropping ceiling tiles. We're getting so much. So that's something we probably are going to want to address, but with different dynamics, I'm not sure how far we'll go, but hopefully by next month's meeting I'll have something that we can discuss regarding the tuck pointing of the building. As far as staying in the theme with kind of spring cleaning, the crosswalk that you guys walk across, I'm sure from the parking lot, if you've noticed, it needs to be painted again. That's a safety issue, something that will get addressed here real quick here this spring. I mean, you can still see it, but I'd like to get it brightened up a little bit, so that's something that's on my list to do. At the courthouse on Monday, I met with our county architect and his engineering team to go through the basement and begin engineering the project, so we can get to the point where we have prints where we can go out to bid. So we continue to move forward on the basement project at the courthouse. The annex, really nothing to report there. Old jail. We've had some water intrusion issues at the old jail. It's related to some vents on each of the floors. On each of the 3 floors, there's vents, and we believe that the water intrusion is coming in around the vents, leaking down the side of the building to the first floor, where it's then coming into the building. So we're going to be starting Friday looking into that, because there's one cell that, when we get a decent rain, does take on quite a bit of water. So it's something that needs to be fixed, and I was just notified of this last week. So within a week's time, we're going to have this going. So we're going to start on that Friday. There's also some window issues there that we're going to have to address at some point. I just wanted to make the committee aware. Power washing, which is on the agenda for later today, so we'll discuss that here in a minute. JCDC, we've been working stripping and waxing floors. We've got some windows leaking up in public safety. I've got a contractor coming out to look at that, to provide some quotes. Had a significant amount of work in the kitchen out there as well. The dishwashing machine, we've had to replace a motor on it this last month. We got the electrical done for the body scanner that Sheriff Downey talked about, I think at Criminal Justice yesterday. That's about it. So the next item on my list is the wash bay, which is a nice segue into agenda item 4. I'd asked, if we could get those photos up of the wash bay. So that's the wash bay out at JCDC, right next to the morgue, where where everyone cleans their vehicles. And the bottom, I would say probably 5 inches of the paneling is rusted pretty bad. And it shares a wall with the corner. So the corners garage is immediately to the north of the wash bay. And can you go to the next picture, please? Go to the next one. One more.
That's all I got.
Oh, there should have been one more. I thought there was one more of the coroner's garage. That's it. Sorry, right there. So that's the coroner's garage that shares with the wash bay, and you can see there's a mousetrap that we have set right there. There's just in communication with Bob Gessner. He's had some critter issues in his building as well. The bottom of that paneling, there are some pretty decent voids in the paneling. So what I've done in conjunction with Coroner Gessner is we went out, we've identified 2 local contractors to provide bids to essentially replace the bottom 5 feet of paneling in both the wash bay, so all 4 walls of the wash bay, and then this one wall in the coroner's garage. In total, it's just about 120 linear feet of paneling. The paneling that we're looking at has a 40-year warranty, and as long as it's installed properly, flashed properly, it does have like I say, it carries a 40-year warranty. I received 2 bids for the project. The bids vary in price greatly. One price was around $28,000, one was $8,000. So that's a pretty wide range. So assuming the $8,000 bid is consistent and we're comparing apples and apples and it's the product we want with the correct warranties, and I verified, he says it is, but when you're $20,000 off, it, kind of, I'm concerned. So we'll look into that, and as long as we're comparing apples and apples, I'd like to get the committee's thoughts on this of going with the low bidder and replacing this damaged paneling.
Chairman Wheeler, you had a comment on a question?
I'll wait until after this topic and go back.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Hunter?
Yes, thank you very much. Do they have references for both bids?
Both bids are from very reputable local union contractors.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Thank you.
Let's go with Mr. Featherman first.
Yeah, Wes, you ever give any thought to just putting a 4-inch concrete curb along both sides of that wall and go right over to steel with it?
Yeah, we
Get
talked about going with the
50
masonry.
40 bags of Sacrete, take care of that, and a couple of 2x4s.
We talked about going with a masonry solution, and they identified that as probably the best solution. Not what you're talking about, but we talked about actually blocking it, but we didn't talk about that solution particularly. The reason why we didn't want to go with the masonry was just the sheer cost of having to do that. But yeah, to your point, I haven't thought about doing a curb or anything.
You see a lot of old car washes do that when the metal starts to fatigue. They'll put a 4 or a 6-inch curb along at the wall on both sides and then flash the top.
The way they explained it, as long as this product with this warranty is flashed correctly at the concrete, we shouldn't have any issues. So,
Mr. Long?
Wes, thank you. Wes, the product you're using is not metal?
it is a metal product, yes.
Okay. Is there a vinyl or plastic solution that may not rust?
I offered that to both contractors, and they both recommended this particular product, because that was my thought, like an FRP or something like that. That's a plastic. Yeah, that was my thought.
So in retrospect, the other lasted 16 years. So
from the looks of it and from discussing it with them, they did not believe it was flashed correctly. Like there's no flashing at the floor. Like when you look at it now, either the flashing is rusted and gone, but there's no flashing at the concrete. So their thought was a lot of it was getting inside behind the wall, and it was just sitting back there because it wasn't flashed correctly.
my memory is it's metal studs. Is that correct?
No, it's wood frame.
It is wood frame.
Mr. Hess?
Thank you, Chairman. Wes, are they going to take the top panel, when they cut that off, they're going to take the top panel and slide the other one underneath it so that
Yeah, they'd have to
Going
go
down,
underneath,
like, on the seam?
and then there's a flashing that would go along that seam, and then everything would be caulked. So I just like to.
Is this, thank you, is this the corner side we're looking at here?
Yes.
Do they wash in there as well?
They do most of, there is a small floor drain in there, but I don't believe they wash in there. The wash bays next door has a large, probably 12-foot drain. I don't think he washes in there.
But both sides will have this the same way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the wall that shares the wall with the wash bay, so that'll be the same material.
Because they weren't
That's it.
designed as wash bays. They were just like, it's from what I understand.
Yeah, I
Is that
don't
correct?
recall.
And that's because I look at that electrical outlet next to a power washer and I cringe with water being close to electricity. You know what I mean? I think we should, that's your job, and let's look at the rest of that stuff.
Sure.
Because if we're using it for not what they were designed, we may need to do electrical
Sure.
as well.
So what I would like to do is just get maybe a head nod from the committee that this is something that we want to explore, and then I would like the ability to analyze both quotes, talk with both contractors, see why the difference in price. Maybe one is busier than the other right now. I don't know, but that happens. So I want to look at this and go with the low bidder if this is something that the committee agrees needs to be looked at and completed.
Mr. Fredlin?
Is there any chance we could get a bid on putting a small concrete curb there from somebody? I mean, it's not going to be $8,000 to put a small curb on both sides in the garage.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly do that. I
Just
can,
cover up the rust that's there and flash it.
yeah,
and
if
then-
that's what the committee would like me to do, I can.
It's
certainly
not
do that.
structural, it's just covering.
Sure.
Yeah, doesn't matter if it's rusted really physically.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on this? So you just want to, okay from the committee?
I think, do we believe something needs to be done with the wash bay? I mean, is that something we want to do? Okay,
definitely.
well then I'll analyze the bids. I'll look at the possibility, inquire about the concrete curbing around the wash bay. And then, it's been this way for probably 10 years. So, another month isn't going to create any issues.
Mr. Hess?
Thank you. If you don't remove that, and that's wood framing underneath there, that bottom plate could be rotted out already.
I think you're saying still remove the paneling, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure we're
Yeah.
going to remove that,
Yeah.
because that bottom plate could be gone.
Right. No, when we get into it, we may have a sill plate that needs to be replaced.
Should be treated according to code.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make a motion, we go ahead with it. To the lowest responsible bidder.
I'm sorry, say it again?
Make a motion, we take the lowest responsible bidder.
Okay. Mr. Long, second?
A question on the motion?
Go ahead, Mr. Hunter.
Yeah, aren't you going to do another thorough analysis of those bids? Other than just the cost?
Yeah, no, I want to make sure that the correct. I just got the second bid yesterday, late in the day. So yes, I want to go back. I want to make sure both bids are responsible. And to Mr. Hess's point, I think the
Right.
ability to go with the lowest responsible bidder is pertinent.
Yeah, apples and apples, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you, I'm satisfied.
Chairman Wheeler?
I was just going to mention that's what responsible refers to.
Okay,
It allows him to do the analysis of
right.
responsive to the needs of the project.
Analyze the whole thing.
And I'd say, I would just suggest that we give Wes the latitude to add the curb if it's low cost enough and we don't have to mess around with coming back here. And if it seems like it's going to add 20% onto the project, then I think that maybe that's something we do later. That's just my own opinion. And they don't have to happen at the same time, I don't think, do they?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so.
Fine.
The paneling's got to be replaced regardless. So
Yeah. Thank you.
no, it's a good idea, and I'll pursue it, and we'll see what it looks like. Yeah.
Since we just spent a little bit of money here, so should we do a roll call, please?
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Dunnell? Mr. Hess? Mr. Featherling?
Yes.
Mr. Long? Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson? Mr. Smith? Mr. Raymond? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the power washing at the old jail and the annex, which I know everyone is anxiously anticipating. Looks like I have 3 envelopes here.
Okay. So we're gonna need a motion to open the sealed bids. Okay, Mr. Donnell and Mr. Long second. There will be a voice vote. Everybody in favor signify by say aye. Anybody opposed, the same sign? Okay. Go on.
Okay, and before we move on this is for power washing the old jail in its entirety. So every elevation on the old jail, and then the same for the annex, those two buildings. All right, the first bid is from Pac Pro Power Washing. $21,500. The next bid is from Aqua Pro Power Washers. And their bid is $78,998.85.
Is that gold plating too? They're gonna spray on there?
I'd have to take a closer look. All right, the next bid is from Tatro Painting and Decorating. Looks like they've split it out. So the bid for the old jail is $21,697. And then the bid for the annex building is $9,725. For a total of roughly $30,000. I can't do that in my head, never could. So I would like to do the same, as long as we all still agree that the power washing needs to happen. I'd like to take a look at these, make sure the scopes are correct, and go with the lowest responsible bidder.
Mr. Featherland?
Any chance that that high bid includes a treatment when they're done to keep the mold and stuff from forming again?
It's pretty comprehensive. There's a lot here, so I'd have to read it and go through it.
Because I was going to see if that was a possibility to look into, so we don't have to do it again in 5 years. It just lasts a lot longer that way.
Yeah.
There's a couple different kinds of things that they use, solutions they spray on when they're done.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously at 80,000, we can power wash 3 times for 20, or every 5 years. So
yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wes, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Power Pack, where's Power Pack located?
It's Pac Pro Power Washing, and they are local here in looks like Kankakee.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're
Anybody
welcome.
else? Any other questions? So, since we have the bids open, we need a motion to accept the lowest responsible bidder after review. So Mr. Featherland, Mr. Smith, second.
Reduce the bid to accept the lowest possible.
I'm sorry, can you say it again?
You get approve it based upon Wes's acceptance as a responsible bidder.
And Mr. Smith is seconding that motion? Okay. All right, so we're gonna do a roll call on that too, please.
Mr. Carrico?
Aye.
Mr. Dunnell?
Aye.
Mr. Hess?
Aye.
Mr. Featherling? Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Hunter?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Raymond? Mr. Wheeler? Motion carries.
Thank you. Chairman Wheeler?
Okay, back to the alley. Could you get a hold of the city, your counterpart there, and have them patch the alley, please? I've tried to talk to their aldermen for years. They don't return the phone calls, so I'd appreciate it if somebody could reach out from us and talk, because it's a hazard. People step in those holes and fall down.
Well, we've
It's a
got 2
liability.
different ones. We've got the one in the main alley here, and then there's another one, if you've noticed, walking to the west.
Yeah, they need to take care of those. It's just hot mix. We're not asking for a full rebuild. It's just patch the holes before we paint the stripes across there.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not that much.
About a speed bump right out there too.
Well, we're working, just so the committee knows, I'm working with the mayor about extending the island past the alley. so people can't turn left to avoid the light doing 40 miles an hour anymore.
Yeah, that's,
It's
I see that a
ridiculous.
lot.
It's ridiculous. And people have been hit, employees, and I've almost been hit out there. People try to drive from one alley to cross Court Street and they're stopped in the middle, and then traffic doesn't move either way. It's a real problem, but it's a state route, so it's a process. So letting you know, we're starting to work on that as well.
Okay.
You know what, Mr. Chairman Wheeler, this is Hunter. If you could talk with the mayor, if not, why wouldn't you just go straight to Pigosh and have him do it? Because it seems like if you're talking to the alderman in that ward and they're not responding, I would go directly to Pigosh, the city engineers, for them to get that taken care of.
Yeah, I just thought it was an opportunity for Wes to work with his counterpart there. When they have problems with snow plowing, they call him or us. So I thought it might be good for him to call them with the problem we have.
I understand.
Then there's no resolution, we'll go north. How about that? Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, is any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Any other business?
Make the motion.
Before Ms. Hudson gets in.
I beat you to it already. Right?
Ms. Hudson makes a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hess second. Everybody in favor signify by say aye. Anybody opposed can stay. Thank you so much.